full disclosure, I've had some experience with the Conversation Project, so I feel able to address the question through the lens that we're really trying to make people aware of. And I am really grateful that my father passed away first. I lost him about 13 years ago. And we never had, as a family, we never had specific conversations about what he wanted, except that he had made it known to my mother that he was not in favor of being kept alive artificially by machines. Whatever was going to happen should be what God and nature thought was time to happen. And as it developed, his pulmonary issues had him on a machine. And so when it came time for us to make a decision based on his physical condition, my mother and my brother and I knew what he wanted, even though we'd never discussed it specifically other than conversations between the two of them. So it was an easy decision to make that he not be kept alive by machines. That informed my mother's aging process. And then I was introduced to the Conversation Project before she passed away. So I was a little more mindful in conversations with her. But because both of the experience with my dad and because of the Conversation Project and the way we had addressed it, I knew exactly what she wanted. And so we were able to engage hospice in her retirement home, and she felt at home, and she had both of her children near her. And so I felt that we did a pretty good job of addressing exactly what she wanted at the end. Well, I think that as a result of the experience that we had with my dad, my mother proactively, before she began to decline at all, made funeral arrangements for both me and my brother as well as her own. So we knew exactly where she was going to be buried. We knew not only how she wanted things to go at the end, but all of the details. They were all spelled out and taken care of. And I'm a big believer in that. And so my funeral and my brother's funeral, thanks to my mother, they're all taken care of. All the arrangements are made. And so no one in our families, my brother and me, no one will have to make those really difficult, stressful, last-minute decisions. They're already made. I understand completely why people are, especially in their 40s and 50s and perhaps even 60s. I understand why they're reluctant to engage in these conversations about their elderly loved ones, let alone about themselves, let alone about their children. But my experience on how my mother handled things for her children after what happened with our dad, it makes me a complete believer in the mission of the Conversation Project, because there won't be any agony about what to do. And I have friends with adult children who I can't get to really address it for reasons that we're all too familiar with. I don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. And then as someone in the family gets further down the road and begins to fail in health, then they're a little more aware of the benefit of talking about it. And I just think the opportunity to reduce the inevitable stress is something worth so much more than money. I have very good friends, a woman who, as we are having this conversation right now, her father is on the doorstep. They're Catholic. He's already had the last rites. He's too tough to give up, but he will, because it's time, and he's told them it's time. But I've encouraged these folks, since I became aware of the Conversation Project, to have this conversation with my friends' parents and with their children, and they now have a grandchild. And every chance I get, without beating them over the head with it, I encourage them to remove the stress at the end and enhance the greatness of the Conversation Project, which is about the quality of the end of life. We make such a mistake, I think, about talking about how do you want to die. And really, the conversation is about how do you want to be able to control the quality of the end of your life. So I'm really not worried about it, because I think that my family knows exactly what I want, because we have talked about it and the arrangements are already made.
Have you talked with your loved ones about how you want to live at the end of your life before the funeral arrangements?
That's a really good question. It's an ex-wife in my case, and I'm sure that we talked about it around the time of my father's death. But it's a great point. It would not be an inappropriate conversation to have again, because there is more than just the funeral arrangements, and I have no compunction at all about having the conversation. This is how I'd like it to be, if we have any control over it. And I really just think people should have that conversation, and they should have it with their children. They should have it with their adult children. They should have it with their adult children on their own behalf, and they should have it with their adult children about what their adult children want on their behalf, because the sad truth is, not everyone who passes away is elderly. And this is all about, to me, managing the stress on the loved ones of the end of life, and encouraging, and if not assuring, the quality of the end of life for the person who passes away.